into those two documents, especially the brief that you have. I will take it as read, so I will just emphasize just a few parts of it in order to demonstrate and report the progress of work of the 2022 appropriation and the plans for 2023. On page 2, paragraph 2, you will see the total appropriation for 2022, which is 515.9 billion, as rightly stated by the chairman in his opening remarks. The capital side of that budget was 441.1 billion. That was between works and housing. And we further disaggregated that budget between the two sectors of the ministry. As you will see, if you go to page 3, out of the 441 billion, 293.512 billion represents the total releases so far from Treasury. And out of that, 163 billion was allocated to the work sector, while 130.4 billion was allocated to the housing sector as capital allocations. The balance of 147.595 billion still remains in expectation as the year goes to close. Let me also quickly point out, sir, that although we are now in the 11th calendar month of the year, we are essentially in the 5th financial month of the year, because the implementation of the capital side of the 2022 budget was deferred by resolution of Parliament to the end of May. So work really did not start on the 1st of June as far as the capital side of that. And so I think it is important just to contextualize performance in that sense. We're not yet in the middle of the financial year, technically speaking. I want to also point out on page 2 that we spent 110 billion on the highways sector. That's paragraph B of page 2. Paragraph 3B, 110.450 billion was spent on the works sector for the payment of outstanding certificates for works executed out of the 2022 appropriation of 261 billion. That's about 40%, and that just shows you we're almost at the middle of the year, as I emphasized. But to note also that as at October this year, we have a cumulative amount of 765 billion and 17 million naira, 138,752 naira and 92 kobo as unpaid and outstanding certificates. And this number is important when you see what is in the envelope for 2023. And these certificates are not just certificates owed to contractors, they are payment owed. Please, sir, that flash is disturbing me. Can you please put it off? Thank you, sir. So there are payments not just owed to the contractors, there are payments owed to the contractors' suppliers, small businesses who supply building materials, bitumen, diesel, aggregates, cement, and all of that. It's important that we find a solution to provision for this somehow in the next financial year. Otherwise, they would have consequential economic effects and social effects in our nation. These are families, these are businesses, some of which have borrowed money on the strength of our appropriation and our contracts to invest in our economy. So I just want to emphasize that point. I also want to make the point that whilst I was before the Senate, the House Committee on Work, I emphasized that our total contract value that has been issued was 10 trillion naira. Now, I saw that report in one of the dailies today, and I think that I should use this opportunity to correct it. 10 trillion naira is not what we owe contractors. It is the total amount of contracts that we have committed to as part of our infrastructure development plan. The amount outstanding as at the time of this report is 756 billion. So I think that newspaper should please make the correction. We should not conflate work done for which there is an outstanding. That's 765 billion. That's the amount. So that we don't send a wrong economic story about Nigeria to the world. We're not owing contractors 10 trillion. That is the total amount of contracts we have signed. Not all of that work has been done. The work that has been done, which is yet to be paid, is this number, 765 billion. So I will go to page 4 and just highlight some of the completed projects for 2022. In this budget year, 20 major highway projects have been completed, ready for commissioning, and and they aggregate to about 379 kilometers of road across different sectors of the economy. That's what was done in 2022 as at today. There's still more that will come. So that has to also be situated in context. That's just 2022 performance. And Mr. Chairman will recall that since 2021, we have been undertaking various handing over commissioning projects at your initiative across the country. I will speak to some of them, and one of them will also happen again tomorrow. I believe notices have been sent to you. The bridge that connects Nigeria to Cameroon between Cross River and Bamenda. So there are also 59 major projects that are at advanced stages that will reach completion later this year or in 2023. Those ones have a total contract value of 60.9 billion naira. Their details are in Annexure 6 of the bundle that you have. We have, with your collaborative efforts and by appropriation, also intervened in several tertiary schools across the country, working on their internal road network, limited to no more than 2.5 kilometers in one instance, but it has been very impactful. As you see in paragraph 5 of page 4, we have covered 66 tertiary institutions, provided roads inside them. 17 are still being undertaken, and the completed ones, 66, aggregates to 85 kilometers of road network built in our tertiary institutions. The only point I want to make about this is that this committee respectfully is urged to flag this as what it is. It's an investment in education, and it should be reported as such. So oftentimes when we are giving the picture of our investment in education, I suspect that if we don't report this kind of investment, and also investments in the constituency projects, healthcare, classrooms, we underreport what we do in health and education. So I just wanted to flag this. In paragraph 6, we have a bridge maintenance program which was initiated in the life of this administration. bearing in mind that the federal government has to date 1,734 bridges, counting, including the one that will enter the books tomorrow. We're also trying to get the details of what the states have so that we can report a national bridge asset inventory as against just a federal government inventory. These are just federal government bridges. There are state bridges as well. But what work is going on there? We are maintaining bridges like the Murtala Mohammed Bridge, Koto Cafe along Abuja Lokoja Road, the Makode Bridge, the Katsina Ala Bridge, and the Third Mainland Bridge, amongst others. We will come back to you when the flood fully subsides in the report we are compiling at the request of the chairman of the committee and his colleague in the House of Reps about the impact of the flood on infrastructure. But that's another matter about which we will report. Our overhead report is on paragraph 7, just to show that we have 58% budgetary provision so far, releases, pardon me, so far for the year. And we have generated 1.481 billion in terms of revenues. Mr. Chairman, let me just quickly highlight some aspects of the report I have had to share with members of the public on behalf of our ministry, at the instance of the Minister for Information. Just a quick rundown to show that today the Ministry of Works is overseeing the implementation of 1,642 contracts. 1,642 contracts. And this covers a total of 1,623 projects. So within each project, you might have more than one contract. 1,642 contracts, 1,623 projects. So in some cases, you might have 3 contractors on one project. You might even have one contractor, but the project is broken into 3 different distinct contracts for ease of administration and management. But all of these aggregate to over 13,000 kilometers of roads and bridge under construction. And as we reported, we have completed over 8,000 kilometers of road between 2015 and now, and there is still more to come. As I shared some highlights before your counterparty in the House, just to identify a few projects and the way they have also been funded, you will see that if you look at our budget, we are clearly under budgeted for. So there are funding initiatives outside of the budget that have impacted our investment in infrastructure. And it's important to speak to one or two of them, particularly the Presidential Infrastructure Development Fund, which was an initiative of the President himself. And what this speaks to was a decision to invest some of our dividend income from NLNG into long-term assets for the country. And this is something that I think deserves commendation. We have invested in a company. The investment is yielding income, and the President has decided to invest the income back into long-term assets for the country. And that project is funding 3 projects: the second Niger Bridge, the Abuja-Kano Road, and the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. So on the second Niger Bridge, for example, that project, the bridge component of it is finished. So what remains to be done is the approach road on the Asaba end and on the Onitsha end. On the Onitsha end, I think we are at over 5 kilometers of 7 kilometers link road. We've asphalted about 5 kilometers. On the Asaba end, we are just about to start the 3.5 kilometer road, but work has slowed down because of the flooding. The dredger is there, nobody can do any work right now. So we're waiting for the flood to subside because it's swampy area, so you have to sand fill to build. So, but the bridge itself is now completed. So that's a progress to report. On the Abuja-Kaduna sections 1, 2, and 3, section 1, which is the Abuja-Kaduna section, out of 165 kilometers, we have constructed 26 kilometers. And the way to understand that is that that's the longest part of the project. The entire project is 375 kilometers broken into 3. So the way to understand that is that the Abuja-Kaduna section is the longest, it is the most built up, it is the busiest, and it is the most trafficked. And currently also there is a counterparty project by the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, the Ajaokuta Kaduna Kano pipeline, that also has to pass through the road. So waiting for that to be installed has also caused some delays for us, apart from the fact that we have to relocate trailer parks, settlements on the road, relocate pipelines, telecommunications equipment, cables, and also electricity cables. But between the Kaduna-Zaria section, which is 73 kilometers, we have completed 64 kilometers. So that's almost done. Between the Zaria to Kano, out of 137 kilometers, we have done 99 kilometers. So those ones are heading towards completion. So it's just the busiest part that we are still having issues with. And that was also the part that was largely impacted by security challenges. At one time, our contractors could not work, but all of that has been restored. The law enforcement have provided a brilliant response, so we are able to work now. So just to contextualize the disparity in performance between those sections. On the Lagos-Shagamu and Shagamu to Ibadan, out of 43.6 kilometers between Shagamu and Lagos, we have done 38 kilometers on the Ibadan bound section. We have done 37.5 kilometers on the Lagos bound section. So what remains now is just about 6 kilometers into Lagos, and we are done with the entirety of that. And on the Shagamu to Ibadan side, which is 84 kilometers, we have done 68 kilometers Lagos Ibadan bound, and we have done 59 kilometers Lagos bound. Again, we are making progress. There are a few setbacks inside Ibadan because the Oyo State government is also building a storm water channel across the road. And we need that also in order to protect the road in future. In case there's heavy flooding, that storm water can manage water across. The tax credit is also something I would like to report. Another initiative of this government. I believe that Mr. Chairman has made my burden lighter by reporting on the sukuk, so I won't dwell on it anymore. But the tax credit was a policy enunciated in 2019 by Executive Order 7, I believe it was. The first off-taker of that project was the Dangote Group for the Obajana Kaba Road and the Apapa Urushuki Expressway to in Lagos, which was a major port evacuation road. I'm able to report that the Obajana-Kaba road is finished, and I am also able to report that the Apapa-Oroshoki road is at 93% completion. Essentially, what is left now is finishing works, and the people of Lagos and people who use the port for shipment can report to you that today it's a better experience than it was a few years ago. Of course, that policy has now attracted other investors. The Bua Group have stepped in to build the Kano to Congola highway. They will be mobilizing soon. The MTN Group have stepped in to take over the Enugu-Onitsha highway. So that will no longer be part of government direct obligation under the Sukuk anymore. It will be our obligation because it's our road, because they are going to be refunded their tax credits as we go on. But for now, you can be sure now that there is adequate provision to finish that road as a result of this policy. There are also one or two roads. There's a road in Abia that an industry, GZ Industries, has also been allowed to take over. GZ make these cans. They make the cans for bottling the canned drinks. So they have a factory in Abia and one in Agbara in Ogun State. So they've also said they want to do the access road leading to their factory. So it's gaining traction, and some of the subsidiaries of NNPC have also invested last year in 21 routes across the country. So the policy is beginning to have effect, and I thought that I should report this. Of course, we have taken some international loans. The ministry has a loan for the AFDB that was used to fund the bridge, which I said we have completed. We will open tomorrow, Cameroon to Nigeria. We also have a China Exim Bank loan for the Akwanga to Makurdi highway. That project will finish in April of next year. And we have secured the second leg of that loan through government approval to take it from Makurdi to Nightman and Enugu. And but beyond the kilometers of road, I thought that it might also interest the committee to just see some of the economic impact, because we do not build roads for themselves alone. They are aimed at driving growth and employment and commerce in the economy. And over the last few years, we have kept records from our contractors as they send certificates to report to us how many people are working for them, how many suppliers they are using, what quantities of aggregates they are imputing. And this has been done over the years. We are now able to report to you that over that period, 339,955 people were employed through the annual appropriations to date. As I said, we have constructed 8,352 kilometers of roads. We have undertaken 1,663,954 linear meters of lane marking. And you will see that as you drive across the country today. These are small businesses that did not exist before. Essentially, there was no lane marking on any major highway in 2015. But those businesses are growing as a result of our interventions. And before now, many roads did not have road signage that even indicated to you which town you were or how many kilometers. But we have made this a normal feature of our roads now. We have installed 250,000 583 road signs nationwide. We are not done. What is instructive is that each road sign, especially the route assurance signs, employs between 7 to 10 people for the process of printing, installing, and I thought that it was important in the final budget just to represent the impact of all what has happened. Over the years, we have used about 1.6 million tons of cement. We have consumed 1.2 billion liters of diesel. We have utilized 51 million liters of petrol, 3.371 million tons of bitumen, 18 million tons of aggregates, fine aggregates, and 40 million tons of coarse aggregates, and 512,000 tons of reinforcement. Now, why are these numbers important? These numbers are supplies that have gone on in the Nigerian economy. So these numbers cannot be denied by anybody. And it is instructive that it is Nigerians largely who are the suppliers, the vendors to the construction companies, because the construction companies don't keep these items. So this has happened inside this Nigerian economy. And if you go to the quarries and those who own quarries, they will tell you how busy they have been over the last few years. But there is more to report apart from quantities. And as I reported, Mr. Chairman suggested, and we have commissioned about 12 roads in the last year. And one of the things that we did at each commission was to undertake surveys of the impact of the road in the communities that it was built. So roads like Lafia Obiawe Tunga Road, the Vandekea Obudu Cattle Ranch Road, the Kirikasama Guru Road between Injigawa, the Guru Geshua Road, and so on and so forth, sections of the Kanu Maiduguri Road, the section between Azare and Potiskum, and the section between Shuare and Azare, Newe Oduma Road, F1 Layerimo Iwaraja Road, and so on. These roads total 896 kilometers, just 12 of them. But the survey from the commuters, the drivers, the businesses who use the road show us that on the aggregate, travel time on these roads have been reduced by at least 56.2%. That's the impact. On an individual basis, the person who, the survey from 84 kilometers of Lafia Tunga Road showed that before construction, the 84 kilometers used to take them 2 hours to travel. Post-construction, it was a 1.5-hour journey. Those who traveled between Sokoto, Tambua, Jega, Kontangora used to travel 304 kilometers in 9 hours. By the time we opened the completed sections of that road, journey time had reduced to 4.5 hours, and so on and so forth. And so if time really is money, this has been impactful in the prosperity of the people. For each of those roads, we have also compiled the quantities of material used to construct each road, because we collected this data over the years. So we have a directorate that does this, and we all take our data from them. Now, our big contractors have been even more impactful. And just to share one report that we asked of one of them, one of the big contractors who does maybe